Look, I don't want to undo all of your Easter calm. I don't want to make you angry at the hypocrisy and double standards of our politicians. So instead, let's just have some fun at their expense. I mean, after all, we all know they get to have a lot of fun at our expense. Let's start talking globally and look at someone like former Vice President Al Gore. He got to make his name as the planet's climate alarmist in chief, spreading doom and gloom, wildly inaccurate, a lot of it, a whole bunch of inconvenient errors, in fact. But while Gore kept telling us to lower our carbon footprints, he jetted around the globe like the multi-millionaire he is, and he lived in this Nashville mansion that used as much energy in 1 year as the average American family uses in more than 20 years. Yep, 20 times the average carbon footprint, and that's just when he's staying at home. And look, he's no orphan. Just look at John Kerry, another one-time presidential hopeful turned climate evangelist. He's President Joe Biden's special climate envoy. He too is a millionaire and he loves to get about the joint in his wife's private jet. Yeah, off on holidays, flitting back to work, whatever, just jetting around while the rest of us are told to ride bikes or drive electric vehicles or even stay at home. Now, this hypocrisy isn't limited to politicians, as you know. Movie stars and other celebrities often buy into this stuff. I mean, whether it's guilt about their indulgent lives or maybe just an effort to try and add some pretense of substance to their vacuous existence, there are just so many actors who want to tell us how to save the planet. And one of them is Leonardo Di Caprio, a climate warrior in his spare time. He had a go at Australia just last month over logging in Tasmania. But you guessed it, he too does not practice what he preaches. For his holidays, Di Caprio is a regular boarding private jets and massive motor yachts where he perhaps ponders his fortune or learns his lines or tells us to sacrifice more to reduce our carbon footprints and save the planet. This stuff is pretty annoying, isn't it? But it's also easy just to scoff at, move on. I mean, Hollywood actors don't have any real say over what happens to us, right? Well, the problem is that it seems DiCaprio has a new doppelganger in our government. Yeah, here they are, two peas in a pod. Leonardo DiCaprio and our Climate and Energy Minister, Chris Bowen. Who could tell them apart? That's Bowen on the right, by the way. Now, it's not their appearance that's so similar, is it? But their actions and their hypocrisy. It matches perfectly. Bowen, too, reckons his carbon emissions are OK. It's only you who has to cut their emissions. These are two government VIP jets on the tarmac at Scone in the Hunter Valley last Thursday when the Prime Minister flew in on one and Chris Bowen turned up in the other. We kid you not, two jets to get a handful of politicians and their staff to one photo event. And what was the event all about? You guessed it, saving the planet, reducing emissions through renewable energy.
Opportunities come along and they can pass you by. But under this Prime Minister, we grabbed that opportunity to be a renewable energy superpower and not just make renewable energy in Australia, but to make the things that make renewable energy in Australia.
But we need to acknowledge that in today's changing world, as the world transitions to net zero, the nature of our economies will change as well.
Yeah, sure, but they don't want to change the nature of the politicians' indulgences. These hypocrites could have flown in on one plane to the Air Force base at Williamtown and spent an hour in an electric vehicle maybe to get to this picture event, or they could have caught a train, or they could have just done their press conference in Canberra or by Zoom. But no, they decided to take the VIP jet approach, something that I always like to think of as the Cussons Imperial Leather approach.
From the day you were married, you and your family have been working for life's little luxuries. Some you can only afford now and again.
Tahiti looks nice.
Simon, Tahiti.
Roger, Wilco.
But some luxuries you can afford every day of your life. Cussons Imperial Leather, the pure English soap that lasts so much longer.
Yes, Scone, Albo. Let's take the jet to Scone. In fact, let's take 2 jets. One for the Climate Change Minister, and don't spare the emissions. But no, of course, it was nothing like that, according to Chris Bowen. It was all about shifting around terribly important people in the most efficient manner available.
The Prime Minister has a large jet available to him. That would normally be what we take. The runway at Scone wasn't strong enough to take the large jet, so the Air Force recommended and took the decision for 2 small jets.
It was impossible for you to go together in the one plane.
Even the small jets weren't fully laden because of the weight restrictions on the... Even if we had, with the Prime Minister's security detail and other people involved, going from, as you'd imagine, the Prime Ministerial visit, 2 cabinet ministers, we limited the number of staff, and even then, that was the Air Force advice, the most efficient way of getting us there.
Give us a break, Blackout. You've sent our power prices skyrocketing because of your renewables energy zealotry. You've thrown grants and subsidies to every renewables grifter on the planet. You're taxing our petrol for every dollar you possibly can. You're making our petrol and diesel cars and utes more expensive. You're trying to force us into electric cars. Soon you'll have us eating nothing but weeds and grasshoppers. And you reckon you're okay to flit about the place dispensing your words of wisdom from a taxpayer-funded, avgas-guzzling VIP jet. They're having a lend of us, these people. And they only get to do it because too many fools keep voting for them.